How's it going, guys? Dylan from Luxury Lives On, and I hope everyone's doing well today. Now, if you watch my videos, you'll know that recently we purchased a Maserati. But don't let it fool you. You see, this isn't all Italian DNA. In fact, there's a little bit of America in there too. Specifically speaking, Chrysler parts. But don't take my word for it. Let's go to a Chrysler dealership and ask them, well, what parts they recognize. Now, before we go on our undercover journey, it's pretty common these days to find our favorite exotic brands being polluted by the big corporations. Lamborghinis are Audis and Volkswagens are Bugattis. And with these large auto groups with their extensive parts bins, well, they want to keep expenses low and profits high. Maserati is unfortunately one of the polluted. By a over $130 billion auto group called the Fiat and Chrysler group, which is, well, an interesting mix between eccentric Italians and utilitarian Americans. You hear that? They are jackhammering. You see what crap I have to deal with? God damn it. I think they're building a bloody hotel over there. Alright, let's head off to Chrysler. Start button. Sport mode. Oh my God. Hey, look, a Maserati. Oh wait, no, it's a 300C. Alright guys, I have just arrived at the Chrysler Dodge Jeep dealership here, and honestly I feel a little nervous because, let's be honest, I'm a younger guy in a Maserati at an American car dealership, so they're all gonna think I'm a piece of crap. But I want to try to convince them, as I said, to come over, look at the car, and try to identify some parts. So let's see how many they get right, and cross your fingers they accept my request in the first place. Alright, so that didn't work out. In fact, I was met with quite a bit of hostility. On to dealership number 2. In fact, there is Maserati as we speak, and believe it or not, Chrysler is just their neighbor. Okay guys, just so you have proof, that is Chrysler Dodge, and I am kind of in hiding here because I need to find someone who's going to be an easier target to talk to, because a lot of these salespeople have been pretty mean so far. So it's really tricky, to be honest with you. So hopefully I don't get yelled at. All right, I found a very nice man that's gonna help me identify all the parts he recognizes in our Quattroporte that are actually in a Chrysler as well, and actually the Dodge group in general, right? Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep. So yeah. What do you see already?
All right, so right off the bat, I can tell this is exactly the same. We have those in our Grand Cherokees and the Chargers and the Challengers.
No way.
Pretty much all of our cars. Same with this trunk release button right here. And this light control switch.
You can get inside if you want to.
Yeah. And these right here, these little switches, these control like the brightness of the gauge cluster and the interior lights. Straight out of like a Challenger or something.
No way.
Start stop buttons identical.
In the gauges, I believe there was the framing or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, the design of them is like pretty similar. I mean, I'm sure I could show you another car that would have similar stuff.
Anything at the back at all?
I mean, the window control.
Yeah.
But these window switches are identical as well.
And what do you think of the whole shared parts thing? Because what I say in the videos, it's actually a good and a bad thing sometimes, because you get the benefit from, the Italians aren't the best at making things sometimes. They make things pretty, but sometimes things don't work so well. So I was saying some of the benefits are the American parts actually kind of work. Yeah, I mean, they work well. I mean, the only like disadvantage is going to be someone who's spending 120 grand on a car like this. Yeah, exactly. You're going to be pissed that they might get in a rental car in some other city, it's going to be a Challenger or something. They're going to sit in it and be like, shit. That's hilarious. Same window controls as my car. Well, thank you for looking. Can we look at a car and see what parts are kind of similar? Is that possible? Yeah, sure. Cool. So right now we are going to check out some of the actual cars that may feature, well, some of these parts. Yeah. This is a 2019 Hellcat Red Eye, 797 horsepower. Oh my god. Pretty much. This is the most lovely example you could have shown me. Yeah. Window controls, I mean, it's a two-door, so it only has 2 sets of windows. But yeah, if you look over here, check out right here. Exactly the same, no way. Yeah, same with the trunk release. No way. That's hilarious, dude. Yeah, and then the start-stop is a little bit different on this one because the Hellcat, so it's red. Okay, but pretty much same. Yeah, it's pretty much identical. Wow. That's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, it's not the worst car to be sharing parts with. This is quite a monster. No. Wow, so that was oddly successful. Again, big thank you to Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep of Kearney Mesa, and a big thank you to Alex for being so nice and walking around the car with us. This was, well, pretty interesting because not only did he take a look at our car, we actually got to take a look at, well, one of the cars in the Chrysler Fiat group. So that was very interesting. Now, Alex at the Chrysler dealership actually did a pretty decent job identifying, well, all the parts in our Maserati that aren't. And to preface this, these are parts throughout the Maserati lineup. So some of these parts may not be on the Quattroporte because it's a little more higher end. Sometimes you see a lot more of them on the Ghibli, for instance. And in addition to that, these are not all Chrysler parts. It's Chrysler Fiat group parts. So this could be Dodge, Ram, Jeep, etc. Now, I did mention he got a fair amount of the parts, but not all of them. Here is a list of the parts that he missed. Alright, so we have our Maserati opened up like a Swiss Army knife right now because we are going to conduct a little inspection. As I said, I'm going to tell you all the parts on this car that are not from a Maserati to my best ability from, well, going to the dealership and researching on the internet, which we all know is an incredibly reliable source. Now, before we actually go to this specific car, the one that really suffers the most is the Ghibli. This is the lower end sedan version of the Quattroporte. And well, there have been rumors that the body is not Italian. There's been rumors that, well, parts of the engine are not Italian in the Ghibli, even though they have Ferrari inspectors on the factory floor giving it their blessing. So I suppose they're kind of rabbis making food kosher in that instance. But luckily on this car, it's very Italian, the engine. It's actually from a Ferrari, so that's even better news. However, let's start with the exterior. And to start, well, I'm assuming that things like the technology, for instance, like parking sensors, may not be from this Maserati. I know, for instance, this gas filler is an American adoption, no lid, self-closing. Luckily, the trunk is pretty Maserati, but these buttons are most likely not from a Maserati. Oh, and while this is closing, I'm assuming things like this camera as well may not be from a Maserati, or at least we can hopefully pray to God because this is the worst camera ever. Now, moving to the interior, things like plastic is a big telltale sign for it not being Maserati. We have, obviously, Alex astutely mentioned these buttons. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of those. In addition to that, most likely the seat controls, 1, 2, 3 there. The light controls, headlight controls, 1 here, and 2 of these here actually control, well, the brightness in the car, and then the start button itself, which Alex also mentioned. The turn stalk, which is basically a big piece of plastic as well. And obviously this, oh, this disgusting thing, the infotainment center. Potentially some of the buttons here, and what else do we have? Oh, let's go to the back and see what else we can find. It's very comfortable back here. Although sometimes you have to put your arm on this piece of plastic, which I can only assume is not from a Maserati. We can pray. This, I know, for instance, is not. Look how it just popped open. This, for instance, these two I know are not from Maserati. These are kind of a USB and a little port to put in, well, your chargers, things like that. And I'm assuming any other piece of plastic, whether it be the light controls here or the handles here. That is, well, all I could probably tell. Oh, and these controls here for the windows and locks, 1, 2, 3 there. And just to be safe, maybe some of these. So I don't fully know, it's hard to tell based on, well, the internet, but all I can tell you is there is a ton of crap on here that is not Italian. Now it's important to note, I'm not trying to rag on Maserati. I love our Quattroporte, and I'm certainly not trying to rag on the Chrysler Fiat group. You see, sometimes these big part spins are a necessary evil to, as I say, keep costs down and profits high so that they can make, well, crazy things like this available to the public at sometimes a decent price, let's say. But the main thing that's important is that, well, they let the Americans do the tech stuff and the Italians do the beauty stuff. The main thing you have to be careful about with these conglomerates is that each don't reach into each other's pockets, because as soon as that happens, well, it's very likely that car could lose its soul. But I'm happy to say our Maserati is as quirky as, well, going to Italy, sitting in a restaurant, asking for a seafood pasta, then asking for Parmesan on it, and the waiter refusing you and telling you to leave the restaurant. Alright guys, so that was a bit of a journey today, getting kicked out of a Chrysler dealership and going to another one, and luckily meeting someone that could help me in identifying all the things in our Maserati that, well, aren't. And again, it's important to note this is the Chrysler Fiat group, so these are parts from all of their bins, and in addition to that, some of these parts are not just on the Quattroporte, but they're also either on the Ghibli or the Levante or anything like that. Now guys, Kearney Mesa, Chrysler were incredibly gracious. It's nice to host me, specifically Alex. See the link below so you can reach out to him if you're interested in any cars. He is the guy. In addition to that, guys, if you want to see me on more things, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course YouTube. If you want to see what kind of equipment I use, check the Amazon links below. Guys, if you liked the video, give it a like. If you want to see more of my content, please do subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.